ever been challenged really to think on their feet. You can tell, because
What's
they
the
might have
fake
had
intellectual?
success. Hmm?
Oh yeah. No, it's just like the fake intellectuals that I find the most hilarious. So insincere.
Yep, I hear you.
You know, we missed it the other day. It was like Meg and his boyfriend Brit Matt, and like, those types of guys.
Oh yeah, anyone with a British accent is automatically suspect to me.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
actually funny. That's actually funny.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're
There's
not.
plenty of well, yeah, I'm actually not.
No, I'm just joking. So creation bet, how do you know it's flat? I'm like, well, is it concave or convex? Oh, I don't know. Really? They're so afraid of their own position. That's what I find hilarious as well. They're not willing to stand on their own position. And then try to pretend like they don't have a position. Oh, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. That half if I've ever heard it. If anyone says, I'm just asking questions, that's bullshit. When we know you have an agenda, we know where you're coming from. We're not, this isn't new to anyone. Oh, I don't have a stance. I'm just wondering. No, you're not. The anti-SE guys are so afraid of their own worldview.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know it's
Dandelion.
bizarre.
It happened,
Yes.
what is it, yesterday morning or was it this morning? Yesterday morning. Oh, yesterday morning. It was that guy, the geometric location, the geometric limit. Okay, where is it? It's everywhere. Okay, where? Oh, just like trying to tap dance around everything.
You mean the Lego guy in the morning with
Yes.
Indio? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that was actually a good conversation because we totally trapped him because he did that thing they always do where, they are making their claim that if there, was a geometric horizon, I'm sorry, if there wasn't one, then we would be able to see forever. That just like standard stupid anti-flat earther. If the earth was flat, we could see China. Like that was the level of what his argument was. And he actually thought he was going to win with that. That was his beginning argument. And then when he realized that we weren't, going to go for that, then he conceded, like Indio said, and he admitted there were other things that would limit your vision. And then he went back and tried to deny that he originally said that thing. It's like, come on, guys, do better.
Yeah. It's so weak. That's what I mean. Like so the kids have this saying, stand on that. Stand on business is what they say. It means like if you're gonna say something, be bold about it. Stand on it. Back it up. Like be confident with that. And so he's willing to say, like, yeah, there's a geometric limitation. Okay, where? Well, I'm not gonna do that. I'll reverse the burden. Why don't you tell me how there isn't? Like, no, we're not gonna do that. If you're saying it exists, go ahead. Show us.
Yep, and we would take them so much more seriously if they would just, when like caught out in their lack of cohesion in their argument, say, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that proves the globe because you're right. There could be other explanations." Just say that. Yeah, and then we can go on and talk.
The amount of like burden reversals is absolutely hilarious. Okay, I know for sure it's a globe 100%. Okay, great. Prove it. So what about your flat? It's like, what? Why? What are we doing? Yeah, our boy in the chat says, show and tell. They only tell if they don't show. Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. Like I remember being in school, show and tell. We literally had show and tell in like first grade or second grade or something. And it's kindergarten. You could say like, my dad won a Purple Heart. Okay, great. Now show it. Where's it at? Well, no, I don't have to show it. You guys need to believe me. Okay.
You
That's
know,
what they
they've
do.
largely, they've largely, just a side note, they've gotten rid of that because some people might not have as much nice things to show as other people. So we're just going to get rid of the whole thing. Even though it was like the best part of school. And it's also like good for children to come in with like a thing that's important to them and talk to the class about it. But we have to get rid of that. Too much reality.
You know what? Did they really get rid of that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. None of my children have. Well, actually, my oldest daughter did do it. Yeah. That must have been around the time they got rid of it. Yeah. And the other ones, not even one time. Yeah.
Interesting. That doesn't surprise me. This like participation society that where everyone gets a trophy. Like it's so
Yeah.
soft.
Yeah. Because there might be economic concerns. If that guy brings his thing, the other guy's going to be jealous and feel bad he doesn't have one, or whatever. It's like ridiculous.
So soft. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn, I actually remember like that show and tell. Like I think pretty someone's dad like went to war and they literally had a purple heart or something and they brought it in. And holy shit. You know? Nice.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. And you
Yeah, I
remember
don't
it.
know.
So that means it was valuable to you.
Exactly. But I just don't understand, like, even in school during math class, if you had a math equation, your teacher would say, okay, give us the answer and then show your work. Giving the answer is not enough. That doesn't show that you obtained the answer through like valid means. You could have just punched it into a calculator, cheated, or whatever. So showing your work demonstrates that you came to that conclusion through like valid means. And I just for
Yeah.
some reason, it's like that's completely lost on post-tards group. Like they don't know what showing your work means. They don't know how that.
Yeah. Because there's
Almost
a new,
radius.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say there's a new trend in education, which I actually support because it's recognized, that if you just give kids a bunch of problems to do, they'll just cheat, which they always have done. Even before the internet, they just cheat off each other at lunchtime or whatever. But
Mhm.
so instead of like having them turn in, 20 or 30 math problems, you just have them do one problem at the end of class. It's called an exit ticket. I don't know if they did exit tickets when you were in school, but and then they have to actually write out their work and show it and give it to you on a little piece of paper before they leave. It's one of the only things I think that's going right, but not everybody's doing it. But it's kind of like a new thing, and I totally support that because
What's an exit ticket?
it's the thing I just said. Like if we were learning how to solve two-step equations during class, then before you left the room, you'd have to solve one on your little paper and show your steps and work with your pencil before you left.
Hmm.
Instead of going home
Nice.
and supposedly solving 20 equations that really your friend did or Chat GPT did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know why, but like our globe opponents, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, and just being able to, they are not able to, even if they want to be a decent debater, like some of these people claim to like understand debate, and yet they're completely clueless about the other our position. You should be able to understand it, articulate it. That any good, if you're on a debating team and so on, you get assigned one side of the debate one week, and then you do the other side the next week. You don't get assigned the side that you agree with emotionally. You get assigned whatever side you get assigned, so you can logically present the arguments and not be afraid of it. But because they are so afraid of it emotionally of the flat earth, like they can't even for a second let go of the globe to even like consider that position, even though it would make them a better debater. Some of them can. There's a very rare globe believer that's capable of doing that, but they're pretty unusual.
That's a good point. That's a good point, actually. I think that's one of their biggest weaknesses. They cannot consider another position. And in fact, I don't think they even really consider their own position very, very often. Like how many
They
times do we have
don't.
to teach them their own worldview? And sometimes they'll disagree with it.
Yeah, I know, because they assume it's been proven by people smarter than themselves. Yeah, there was a guy either earlier today or yesterday that was like, "Oh, go ask Neil deGrasse Tyson." I mean, he literally said
Oh
that. He
my
wasn't
God.
he wasn't even making a joke. Like he was totally serious. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me." Yeah, I mean, they just don't know it. They just assume somebody smarter than them has figured it out. So don't ask me. I just believe.
Yeah, that right there is phantom expert syndrome,
Oh, cool. I
which
haven't
is,
heard it called that. I like that.
oh, really? Yeah, it's
No.
there's a lot. Yeah, that right there is phantom expert syndrome.
Go ask Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, he literally said
Oh
that. He
my
wasn't
God.
he wasn't even making a joke. Like he was totally serious. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me." Yeah, I mean, they just don't know it. They just assume somebody smarter than them has figured it out. So don't ask me. I just believe.
Yeah, that right there is phantom expert syndrome,
Oh, cool. I
which
haven't
is,
heard it called that. I like that.
oh, really? Yeah, it's
No.
there's a lot of syndromes Dandelion would come up with. And that's a big one. And what they'll do is they'll say, I don't have the answers, but there's a big panel out there of brains that have the answers. Okay, who? Well, I don't know. Um, they basically just imagine that there's a bunch of smart people with answers. Phantom expert syndrome. You know, if you have a
Nice.
court case in the discovery, you have your list of witnesses, and you know the prosecution or defense could call on any one of these witnesses to the stand. I'd like to call this witness to the stand. We get your testimony. But with them, they'll say, "Well, there's a bunch of experts with answers. Okay, great. I'd like to call one of them to the stand. Let's see what they say. I need their testimony." Well, you know, I can't give you an individual. It's just like a collective understanding, the body of science and shit like that.
Yeah.
Phantom expert syndrome.
Yeah.
They imagine.
Gem Panda used to say the body of science all the time. I don't know. Did you ever encounter Gem Panda?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. He was like the body of science.
Yeah, the body of science, a rumpus.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. I know. I assumed there were experts. I mean, but when I went looking for them, then I couldn't find them. Yeah,
Mhm.
they weren't there.
Yeah, they don't exist. And honestly, if we do go to some expert like Neil deGrasse Tyson, they'll just take him and throw him under the bus. Oh, well, he didn't really mean that, or try to misinterpret things he said. Oh, well, he didn't mean that.
Oh yeah, because if they say, yeah, go ask Neil deGrasse Tyson, we say, well, he said that stuff is flat. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh, you're interpreting it wrong. I know he spoke English, but he really meant something else. So, like, which is it? Are you appealing to the expert? He's the guy, or you're the guy, not Neil deGrasse Tyson? Like, it's just so funny.
From Europe.
Holy shit, you're Mexican? Anyway, all right, cool. Europe.
No, you
Let's
can hear
see.
based on accent.
It's just a joke, but I'm just trolling. All right. So, doesn't a vacuum need a container?
What is vacuum?
Something that requires a container?
That's not the definition of vacuum.
Am I speaking lies though?
Well, if you have a vacuum around the volume of space, which is vacuum, then you do not require a container, no? Not at all.
No, that's lore. Radwin, where you at?
What are you talking about, dude?
If you have a vacuum
How do you create a
around...
vacuum? How do you create a vacuum without a container?
Well, it's not a thing that you said... I asked you about the definition of vacuum, and you said something for which you need a container. And I gave you an example when you do not need a container for that.
You haven't given an example yet.
It is you have a vacuum chamber, and for a cubic centimeter in it for which the vacuum is achieved, the vacuum is also around it. So it's not something that requires a container. You do not need a container for every cubic centimeter of space in vacuum chamber.
Wow. You said turn a vacuum chamber on? That's all I heard from that. I have one. I can go do what you said.
By you would need a separate vacuum chamber in your vacuum chamber for every cubic centimeter of space.
What?
And then what's that gonna do for me?
Well, you said vacuum is something that requires container. So
Yeah.
if a cubic centimeter of vacuum in your vacuum chamber is vacuum, then by you it requires a separate container.
No, you just don't have. The whole thing's a vacuum. It's just the whole thing is lower pressure than the outside of the vacuum chamber.
Oh,
Why are you limited to 1 cubic centimeter? That's fucking dumb.
Because definitions apply to every single instance of an object, really. And I have found an instance where your definition of vacuum doesn't apply.
No, you didn't. Even in your chamber, a chamber container. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah. Chamber container. You don't have a vacuum without a container or a chamber.
What happens when you put water in your vacuum chamber, dude?
Boils.
How come?
The lessening of the pressure lessens the temperature required for a liquid that's water to boil.
Great. So nothing to do with gravity keeps that water in a cup, huh? It's just air pressure.
It's how air pressure is achieved.
You don't know the definition of air pressure, gas pressure?
Yeah. How is air pressure achieved? What causes it?
Oh, it presses on the walls of its container.
What causes it? The air pressure on
The container.
So the atmosphere around you has a container.
No, air can't be a container. That's silly.
you said that
You put balloon companies out of business.
What else you got there?
In any case, I'm still waiting for a definition of vacuum, even though I'm typing it in the side chat.
Who cares? What? And what are you going to do with that definition of vacuum?
I still haven't defined it.
Are you going to be able when you get that definition, are you going to be able to make gas balls appear in a vacuum?
Gas balls appear in the vacuum.
Yeah, like the sun and Jupiter are supposed to be gas balls in a vacuum. Are you going to be able to make that happen so we can close down the servers?
It is impossible for them not to appear in something that's not a vacuum, actually. I mean, it's technically
Can you
possible.
demonstrate that?
Well, the problem with you requiring demonstrations is because your demonstrations itself are impossible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with the definition of vacuum?
The vacuum, what we define, so first of all, ideal vacuum doesn't exist. We haven't discovered...
what are you going to do with the definition of vacuum? What are you going to do with it once you get it?
Someone was talking about vacuum in the chat, about high pressure existing adjacent to lower pressure without the movement, and I was wanting to check if you understand what you're talking about, the terms.
Yeah, and what are you going to do with the definition of vacuum?
Well, I was going to state that vacuum is just an approximation. We call it vacuum, but it's just an area of lower pressure relative to an area with high pressure.
Okay,
and
awesome.
what does it mean, lower pressure? That means lower amounts of newtons per exact square unit. For example, lower amounts of newtons per square inch. And
what are we going to do with it now?
So the point is that the Newton is a force. And another question: what happens to the pressure if you introduce a new source?
Yeah, but what are we going to do with this? What are we doing with it?
Well, I'm explaining that.
No, but what are you going to do with all this? What's your purpose? What are you trying to prove?
That you can have a ball Earth with gravity to create an atmosphere.
You're going to do it with the definition of vacuum?
It has to do because the vacuum is a lower pressure, area of lower pressure relative to some area with high pressure, which means it has lesser amount.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Which means it has lesser amounts of newtons, and what newton is a force. What happens when you, to some gas quantity, which is pressurized, introduce another force? That's the question.
Gases go in all directions. Yeah, they go in all directions.
What if you introduce another force into that?
What kind of force?
Which force?
The force which is a physical force field.
Like what?
What is it?
Gravity, of course.
No, you can't use that.
Oh, that's not called a force. They don't say that's a force. You're confused.
Yeah, it's force, literally.
It's not supposed to. It's not a force. So it's not a force. Do you not know what gravity is?
I know. Teach me.
Well, they say it's the bending and warping of space-time, don't they?
That's the more accurate approximation, but it's also just an approximation.
So that's not a force. Yeah, so that one's not a force, and that's the current one apparently. So you don't have a point.
I do have a point because it isn't wrong to approximate the gravity.
So you said, what happens if a force is acting on it, but gravity isn't described as a force? So what are you talking about?
The consequences of how bendy spacetime functions on a
bendy spacetime. Do you have any evidence for that bendy spacetime?
I cannot explain the Einstein's equation.
So the thing that's keeping the gas pressure from doing what we always observe it to do is something that you don't understand. Can't explain.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
That's a good argument then.
Well, it is a good argument because it's consistent.
I'm on your side, dude. That's fucking really good. I'm converted.
It's consistent. It's timely consistent and in different.
You were talking about high pressure and low pressure earlier. Doesn't high pressure flow to low pressure?
That's not space-time. That's not space-time.
But the question is, what happens when you introduce a new force into the whole the force?
You haven't got it one.
Well, you heard this before. You said gravity, and that's not a force, according to the globe religion.
For macroscopic.
No, not for aniscopic.
Yes, for macroscopic.
Not for any.
That's literally.
Okay. Could you get a citation for us? Could you get a citation for us where it says that gravity is a force?
Max headroom.
Technically, it's not a force, but it behaves as a force.
There goes your argument then. We don't need to consider what a non-force is doing if your argument is what about a force.
Yeah,
so why isn't
a shark's not a dolphin, but it behaves like a dolphin.
So why isn't the high pressure flowing to low pressure?
It is unless you have an event which behaves like a force, which gravity does, on a microscopic scale.
So that's stopping entropy from occurring.
Yeah, of course.
Could you demonstrate this?
Well, of course, I just need a really insanely massive object, and I would be able to demonstrate that, of course.
So is that a yes or a no? You can or you can't demonstrate it?
Give me an insanely massive object, and I can demonstrate that.
Well, I shouldn't have to give you anything. It's your claim. Can you not demonstrate it?
Well, what if my claim is
Hey, listen. Yeah, air is not gigantic. Why do you say it pulls on air? Air is not gigantic.
What you're essentially what you're doing is you're saying, if I could do this impossible thing, then I could show you. If I had this wizard, I could show you gold falling from the sky. That this is irrational.
Yeah, that's just you saying you can't demonstrate it. So we can dismiss that baseless claim.
You cannot demonstrate it because you need an insanely massive source.
Yeah. So no one can demonstrate your contradiction of entropy. So we can just dismiss it. It's just a baseless religious belief.
It doesn't contradict the entropy in any way.
You want to know what's cool?
You just said it did. I just said, so that's stopping entropy from occurring, and you said yes.
The entropy occurs under it as it would in any other
So the
scenario.
high pressure does flow to low pressure.
It flows always to low pressure, but...
Well, how are we breathing then?
Well, how you're breathing is that you just have a higher concentration of particles around you than
So high pressure isn't flowing out into the low pressure then?
It isn't because of the...
But you just said it was. You just said it always was.
Yes, but...
So now you just contradicted yourself again.
You do not have the lower pressure on the Kármán's line. You really don't have.
You've not got the lower pressure of space around the Earth?
No, you have a lower pressure. For example, now, at if you compare 1 meter of height to 300,000 meters of height, the pressure will be lower. But if you compare the pressure at Kármán's line, which is 100 kilometers...
What about out in space?
Okay, in space,
That's low pressure. So why isn't the high pressure on the Earth flowing out into the low pressure? Because you said high pressure flows to low.
Because you do not have a lower pressure adjacent to high pressure. The lower pressures are adjacent to the sun.
You've got a high pressure system around the Earth, which is existing within a vacuum, a low pressure space, according to your religion.
It's not a religion, really.
It is.
It is a religion. That's why you can't demonstrate it. Remember, because when we said, what's your evidence? You said, I would need something that no one can provide and no one can do. Meaning it's a religious belief, no demonstration in reality.
Yeah, that's like saying, well, I can't prove this unless like a godly being steps down and proves it. Like what?
It is the most rational explanation.
No, it's irrational. No, believing a contradiction in entropy with zero demonstration is not rational, my friend.
It doesn't, like the Earth-space border. It is, by convention, 100 kilometers. Do we agree on that?
No, it doesn't exist. There is no space.
Well, let's say for the sake of the argument that it does.
Well, no, for the sake of the argument, you'd have to provide some evidence. So far, you've provided absolutely nothing. You just contradicted yourself a bunch of times.
In any case, I'm going to tell you how your reasoning doesn't work. The alleged border between the Earth's atmosphere and space is 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers plus 1 meter, which is technically space, and 100 kilometers minus 1 meters is a practically exact same pressure. So why would atmosphere flow to what's considered space?
That's a cool story, dude.
Because high pressure flows to low pressure, like you said.
It flows, but you do not have a high pressure adjacent to lower pressure.
Sure you do. Well, if you believe in the space religion, you do, because you've got a gas pressure system on Earth existing within a vacuum.
Okay, let's
your religion.
Okay,
Can you show us, let's start from that. Can you show us, could you demonstrate a ball of gas within a vacuum?
Okay, I cannot because again, you would need an extremely massive sources.
So who did that? Who showed that?
No one, because it's impossible.
Okay, so that's another religious belief then?
No, you just have the.
Yeah.
It is the most sufficient rational reasoning.
No. No, you've got no demonstration. It's pure belief. But it
You're appealing to something unverifiable. That's not rational. Stop lying to yourself.
Can you turn off your table?
What?
Can you turn off your table from not existing?
You broke him.
This is a strange spiral.
Yeah, he needs to reboot.
Do you need to...
You don't need to turn off the table, or in his bad analogy, gravity. You have gravity where it's supposed to be the strongest at its surface. Show us it impeding gas and preventing it from following the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, do you, let's say do you negate the fact that at 10,000 meters, 33,000 foot or 35,000 feet, is pressure lower?
Irrelevant.
No, it is relevant actually.
No, it is irrelevant because you have your claimed force, which you think is a force which isn't a force in your actual religion, You have it at its supposed strongest at the Earth's surface. Now show us gas being impeded and prevented from expanding upwards.
You still have my question. Like, I cannot show you that. I already told you.
Yeah, you cannot show us that because it does not happen. And we can demonstrate that all day long. So your assumptions about why there's less pressure above have no relevance because it's been debunked.
Is there less pressure above? First question.
Well, there is less pressure above.
Why on flat Earth, if this Earth is flat, our higher pressure don't go to lower pressure?
We're not making a cosmological claim. We're debunking yours. And, by the way, temperature has a big influence on the pressure of gas, if you didn't know.
It doesn't really have that much big of an influence.
Oh, it doesn't. So, like, they say that the sky is 7.5 Kelvin, which turns helium into superfluid liquid helium, and so it doesn't?
7.5 Kelvin, are you sure?
Yeah, that's what they claim the temperature of the sky is in order for us to do the calculations for radiative cooling.
That's what you said right now is technically a lie. You can Google it.
What?
The 10,000 meter temperature.
I'm not saying that the meter... Oh, you're retarded. I didn't say that the temperature of 10,000 meters was that, you dumbass. I said to calculate the temperature or the release of temperature from your body as you stand under open sky requires you to assume the sky itself is at 7.5 Kelvin.
Well, is the sky at 10,000 meters at 7.5 Kelvin?
No, did I say that, dumbass?
That's what I asked. That's what I asked.
No, but you have a range now between 7.5 Kelvin down to the temperature on the ground. That's a temperature gradient.
What is the temperature at 10,000 meters?
And then there's another thing you're not thinking about, which is you have gradients. You have all of the gas generation here at ground level, and then you have the hottest temperatures here at ground level, besides if you assume the thermosphere. And that gas is therefore more excited, more pressure, all of the gas is generated here naturally. And so as the humidity and the different types of gases mix and mix down here in the wind, basically, there's a pressure gradient that comes upwards along with the temperature gradient and the humidity gradient. They all lay on top of each other. And then as you get higher and higher, the temperature causes the humidity to condense out of the air, and it takes with it other things, and then all of the carbon cycle and all the gas cycles basically happen because of the temperature differential. And so that causes the thing to fall down because it's now a solid and raining down. Does that make sense?
So yeah, you said that the cause is temperature. I carefully listened to your explanation. What is the temperature at 10,000 meters?
Depends.
Let's find
depends on the pressure there. Depends on like the composition, where it is on the Earth, how the air is getting heated. And depends on a lot of factors.
Depends if it's staying on it.
He's just asking questions now because he's essentially conceded his space argument. So
yeah,
if we want to contend with this.
Earth is flat. Let's now explain the lower air pressure at 10,000 meters.
Don't need to. Welcome to Flat Earth.
I need to explain it because...
okay, well, good luck. Let us know if you come up with an explanation. We're not really interested in explanations, but for our purposes, if you understand the Earth is flat...
You need to prove your explanations and your hypotheses. Like, we can just show you there are things here that contribute to the pressure differential, but what the entire cause of everything is in the world, we already told you. We don't have a cosmological view to sell you. We just have proof that the cosmological view that you hold and were sold is not true.
So you think that let's say for the sake of the argument that all of the people who are engineers, mechanical, aerospace engineers who build aircrafts do not know what they're doing? Do the aircrafts in majority fall?
On Earth?
No, the pilots are all treating the Earth as flat and motionless because it's flat and motionless, so that's not a problem.
But also the temperature above the 10,000 meters also plays a huge role, and the pressure differential also, because you can have explosive decompression, right?
That doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And?
Well, it matters if you want to bring down alive passengers.
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
we're just...
What's this got to do with the Earth being a ball?
Yeah, we're just debunking the globe for you.
Of course, but let's explore how lack of temperature at
we're not trying to explain the entirety of the system. No need. We're just pointing out to people that the Earth isn't a spinning ball.
You're also not listening very well because nobody's saying temperature alone is the cause for the exact pressure values at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, I have heard you guys. I am listening you, and also if you do not claim that the Earth is anything. You just want to debunk the globe. I have heard that.
No, I mean, we're telling you it's measured flat and motionless. That's something, but we're not looking to explain the entirety of the system and all its mechanics and details. We don't need to. We're just pointing out to everyone that the Earth's not a ball, and you already know that now, so welcome aboard.
I understand you, but if what we need as people who live in this environment, we need a model with explanatory power.
No, we don't. Why do we? Why do you need a model? What, like a globe on a desk? You need one of those?
Yeah, you need a model of Earth because you want to predict how it will behave.
All the models that they'll use practically for the Earth, they'll just treat it as flat and motionless, like the pilots, like surveyors.
What do we need to model? Sorry.
Sorry, Jedi, go ahead.
I was just wondering what we need to model and predict.
Well, we want to build aircraft that will.
We already demonstrated that an aircraft flies over a horizontal stationary plane. Okay, so we'll move away from that one.
Wait, I want him to try to, like, are you trying to say that airplanes require the Earth to be rotating and curved to function?
I'm not exactly at that point right now. I have given you that, actually.
Because it's just hilarious. The flight dynamic summary shows that you must assume the Earth is flat and stationary, otherwise you'll just fly straight into the ground and never hit the runway. Good luck.
Yeah, so you don't need to worry about this. This has all been taken care of. People have been flying planes for 100 years now, so more or less. So, yeah, it's all done, and they're assuming the Earth is flat and motionless, and it's working out pretty well. So no, we don't need to worry about if planes are going to start dropping out of the sky once we realize that the Earth is just a fantasy cartoon on TV as a ball, as it's depicted. So, no, we don't need to explain any of that either. What else you got?
That wasn't a prediction or a model either.
Well, you said that, but we need to explain that if we don't...
no, don't need to explain it. Why do you think you need a model? What, like a globe on a desk? You think you need something like that?
It explains the lowering of the pressure the further you go up. So you can also...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can also predict how much the pressure will be the lower.
It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
If the Earth
is also not a prediction, it's a postdiction.
Thank you.
Like, if the Earth is really flat, you would use it as a model.
Yeah, it's really flat. I mean, what evidence have you got that it's not really flat?
I'm not saying that it's not flat. I'm just...
Okay, so you already know that the Earth is flat, so there you go.
What on a flat Earth causes a lack of pressure above?
Hold on. What causes pressure?
The pressure
you can ask us about pressure and what causes and the lack of it. We're going to ask you what causes pressure.
The pressure is caused when you have a force distributed over an area.
Okay. So gas pressure is caused by the force of the gas exerted upon the walls of its container.
Yep.
You can also vary and manipulate the gas pressure within a fixed volume by manipulating the temperature or the amount of mass that's moving into and exiting the system.
But also the pressure of gas won't be only caused by the force it exerts on a container. For example, if you
don't have a container, you won't achieve pressure.
Yeah, but of course, but I'm not trying to debunk that. I'm just saying that if you have a pressurized container, the pressure doesn't only exist on the walls of the container. For example, let's say some container under big, huge pressure. It also exists, for example, if you put some object in it, the pressure will also act on the object. That's how diamonds are made.
That would be a surface against which the gas can apply force.
Yeah. This is desperate stuff.
But it's not a part of a container.
No, but it's already existing gas pressure, which is caused by the fixed volume the gas resides in.
The gas pressure...
I explained.
You already just agreed.
It's caused by the force of gas exerts upon the walls of its container. You've put something in already existing gas pressure and saying, hey, look at that. Why?
Exactly. You're talking about dynamic pressure, which is a delta.
Yeah, and you already agreed when Jedi said the gas pressure is the force exerted on the walls of the container. You need a container. You said, yes, of course. I'm not disputing that. And now here you are trying to dispute it. Could you stop?
No, I'm not trying to dispute. I'm saying that the...
Okay, pressure... so then there you go. Now you know that it's a flat Earth and it's contained.
Yeah, so I want to know how I can, for example, build a pressure vessel for an aircraft so the passengers then don't get killed. I must know...
Well, go and speak to Boeing then. That's what they're doing.
You'll need a container.
Of course, the pressure itself is a container. Yeah, it will have an atmospheric pressure when flying at 1,000 meters.
Yep. Okay. And so for all examples, we're going to need a container for the gas to exert any kind of pressure. We can put gas in or take it out of the container, reduce the amount of pressure, the amount of gas within the fixed volume. Then we can put engines in there to see if they fucking work or not. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, and then you're going to need a flat, motionless Earth because that's what the calculations are based off. to design the frickin' plane in the first place.
Yeah.
For example, I don't know if you know about the worst crash, one of the worst crashes that ever happened. The pressure there plays a fundamental role. It's called the Japan Airlines 123. There are tons of documentaries on YouTube. Basically, the pressure vessel failed, and the back of the pressure vessel at the tail had it was contracting and expanding when it's at the ground. It has contracted when it's at the 10,000 meters. It has expanded. Boeing 747, and the back of it had some fatigue issues. And the
I don't know what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, you're just going to end up telling us that gas pressure requires containment again. We already know. Could you get on to another point?
Yeah, you're just talking about entropy at this point. So fuck, man.
At this point, my question summarizes to a sentence. I want.
Your question is a sentence. That doesn't make sense.
It's one not long paragraph of text. I will try to sum it up. So I want, let's say that for whatever reason I want to build the aircrafts, and I need to construct pressure vessels, because if the pressure vessel doesn't have a walls thick enough, it will explode in the air, causing on 10,000 meters, causing everyone.
You're proving our point.
Yeah.
But
this is our argument.
What is the pressure at 10,000 meters in order to
Google it.
Look up, dude. Stop asking us these
you would measure that before you build the airplane, Nupti. Like, you measure the conditions your equipment's going to be operating under before you try to operate it in those conditions. That's the only logical sense.
But how do I know the conditions?
Well, how do you think they're doing it now? How do you think they're telling you the conditions at 10,000 meters now?
They're using calculations and predicting the conditions.
Okay, they're doing anything practical?
Feet and measuring it at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, they're actually measuring it all over the place with weather stations and other things like that, weather balloons. And from that data, they base their calculations on. Which means it's post-diction. You get the data first, and then you calculate based on the data what that will look like. But then you're assuming the upper end of the spectrum where you don't really have data from any reliable sources.
They are measuring. Yeah, of course, they can send always a balloon or a rocket to that height and measure the pressure. Yeah.
Well, exactly, that's the point. Why are you asking us what we would do? You can just look into what they say they're doing. What's the point in that?
I want to know how on flat Earth you know how to build aircraft without them exploding.
What? What's the dark question?
Are you saying it's harder to fly across a flat surface than it is to fly around a globe?
It's because the laws of physics do not work the same.
No, you don't have any globe, remember, it's flat.
Bro, you fly in an airplane designed to fly over a flat Earth, non-rotating Earth, when you fly in an airplane today. We don't need to design anything different, assume anything different, because it's all based on flat Earth numbers.
Can you acknowledge that, learning electronics, right? That in the flight dynamics summary, right, it clearly states that they assume a flat stationary Earth. As in multiple documents, I've spoken to an aerospace engineer. But he's a globe earther, and he said that all of their calculations, that they use in the aircraft design assume a flat stationary Earth.
So what do you think this 10,000 meters elevation is in relation to?
Can you repeat, please? Your signal cut off.
Yeah, what do you think that 10,000 meters in elevation is in relation to?
To the ground underneath it. How high up is it? From the sea level. Sorry. Yeah.
Sea level. Yeah. So that would be a horizontal reference datum.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to Flat Earth.
So yeah, they use in aerospace. They must use them, but they're just
must use a horizontal. There you go.
So how are you saying that it's more difficult to fly on a flat surface than a globe if they design them fly on a flat, non-rotating surface? What are you getting at? I don't understand your angle.
Because
you just agreed to it.
Laws of physics work differently.
No, they don't.
Yes, they actually do. Enough so they can make a difference.
Okay, so now you need to show that planes are designed to fly around a ball.
Yeah. No, we already agreed. It's horizontal, sea level.
Yeah.
You've already agreed, again, that it's flat. So where are we going with this? It's flat, it's flat, it's flat, it's contained, it's flat. Yes, we know.
And
you also have to understand there's no different laws for flat Earth. Nothing's going to change. You can have the same outcome with different presuppositions. And if one of your presuppositions is ruled out through direct evidence and empirical evidence, then you need to drop that presupposition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what's the go with the pressure at 10,000 feet? Like, do you think that you can't have a pressure differential on a flat surface?
Yeah, because you yourself said that the lower pressure flows, like higher pressure flows to lower pressure. And I also
but people have already given you reasons why that you can have higher and lower pressures, right?
The dude who told it said gas generation at the ground level, which is honestly stupid.
Yeah, that's one of them. Oh, that's dumb, is it? So gas generation at the surface is a dumb reason.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it is much like you're generating more gas. It will, if expanding would lower its pressure, it would do that immediately as it is generating.
So more gas would equal lower pressure.
Bro, that's what happens. Bro, don't you know that, like, have you never looked into how weather operates, how the weather cycles work, how hot air rises, cold air falls? You have endless humidity generated from water and other moist things. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Yes, the hot air rises because on average the volume is the density of that air is lower. It rises, yeah. It is basically put out by the buoyant force.
What do you think causes the buoyant force?
The lift force, the difference of the pressures on the top of the object and the bottom of the object.
Pressure.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, there's a difference of pressure, so there's more pressure underneath it and less pressure above. That's why it goes there.
Yeah,
there's
because
more pressure. There's more pressure underneath the hot air being heated by the ground, which is less dense than the cold air. So there's less dense air underneath the hot. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the individual molecules themselves and the space they.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
If you have a molecule by itself, it contains a spherical space of some volume. If you heat it up, it will oscillate, it will vibrate, and the volume it takes will be greater. So now you will have the same mass in a greater volume.
I know. Yes, and so it's less dense.
Yeah.
Yes, and so where is the hottest air? Is it right next to the ground that's heating it, or is it right above it?
The hottest air is near the heating source.
Exactly. So the less dense air would be below, and the more dense air would be above. And so your pressure idea just inverted.
It depends, really.
No, it really depends. Your explanation doesn't work.
In any case, if wherever you have the heated body on the ground, it will generate the lower pressure area, and even that a lower pressure won't be that much lower, so it's significantly not.
God, are we gonna get somewhere today? What is this? Like, this is just mindless hoping. What the fuck? We're gonna need to focus this. Either present an argument for the globe or just ask a salient question. Who else do we have? Do we have anyone in who can actually have a discussion about the globe they believe in instead of pretending that they don't believe in it and then just passive-aggressively trying to argue against any common sense point we make? What's up, brownRekluse?
Howdy, fellas.
How's it going?
Not too bad. I'm super high mostly here to listen. I am a Globey, but I'm not super.
No, you're not. We've spoken before. You said you were a flat earther now.
I believe I was being sarcastic in those moments.
Yeah, I was just joking anyway. All right, so that's all right. Well, we don't have to have a debate, but maybe we can just have a conversation. So what makes you believe that the Earth is a spinning ball?
I think that the body of explanations, the facts with the most explanatory power, all point to the fact that we live on a spherical Earth with, or mostly spherical Earth with mostly spherical celestial bodies above us. That
Okay. Could you give us a specific example of something? Could you give us a specific example of something we witnessed that would confirm that we're on a ball?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say that the fact that 50% of the Earth is lit up, roughly 50% of the Earth is lit up at any one given time, is a pretty good proof that we are spherical.
How does that tell you that you're spherical?
Well, because in a quick demonstration fashion, like obviously if you're trying to light up 50% of like a basketball, right? It's very easy. You could put it.
Why are you assuming that?
One second. I'll finish. But if you want to light up 50% of a basketball, you put a direct light source on one side, and then roughly 50% of that basketball will be lit up at any one given time, right? On a flat surface, regardless of what shape that flat surface is, it's incredibly difficult to light up one side, 50% of it, as we see the Earth lit up. So on any
not really.
Like if anybody could show me a demonstration of how 50% of a flat surface Earth could be lit up at any one given time, as we see in a day-night cycle, then I would happily renege that.
Easy.
Please.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean,
there's a couple of ways you can display this same thing over a flat surface. One is using refraction or a lens, and it's been shown using a little flashlight and
You can show
an AE map, and that's one way. The other way is light extinction. Light can only pass so far through the air before it dies, and that's one of the reasons why we do have night. It's because the light dies.
Do we know what this?
Yeah, but either way, that would just be an assumption on your part that this is occurring because the Earth is a ball. Like, just because we have day and night, that doesn't tell us that we live on a ball. We need something more bally.
Okay, well, again, day and night obviously is a thing that happens every single day. So like again,
Yeah, that's just the sun moving, as far as we can tell.
Right. I can understand that's why you think that, but again, if I've yet to see a demonstration of why.
Well, we've yet to see any of the evidence that it's caused because the Earth is a spinning ball. That's what we're looking for evidence for.
Well, so again, if we use Occam's razor, just in this one incident, one example rather, what would be a more reasonable likelihood that 50% of an object is lit up at any one time in the way that we see day and night cycle happen?
If we're going to use Occam's razor, then we observe and experience a flat, motionless Earth. The least amount of assumptions would just be that it's a flat, motionless Earth. If you're adding multiple assumptions, that's not Occam's razor that you'd be following.
I was saying,
and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know how much. You wouldn't know what percentage is lit up at any one time.
We do know it. Again, we can.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
1 second. Can I finish? We do know at any one point in time where there's light on Earth, right? Do we disagree? That we can tell at any one point when an area is lit up by the sunlight or not. Do we think that we can track that and put it into graphs and whatnot? And like I have a bunch of graphs of daylight trackers, right? So I could post one for you, and I will. That shows the amount of daylight any one given spot on Earth has, right? And it will show you that it is roughly 50% of the Earth.
Well, I'm sure how they're tracking day and night. So it's not using a ball Earth model. They're using the equation of time, which isn't referring to a spinning ball Earth. So tracking the time and the days and the nights isn't using a spinning ball Earth. So either way, that's not really an argument for thinking that the Earth is a ball. Do you have anything else?
Well, again, I would disagree. I'm gonna post it in chat right now. It's the sun calculation, suncalc.org, right? It just again demonstrates at any one point where.
Yeah, but you'd have to know. But you'd have to know what surface area you're dealing with.
Okay.
And where does it say they're using a ball in that?
1 second, because it'll show you that they're using a sphere if you go to the website, right? But beyond that, right? Again, even if you
begging the question.
1 second. Even if you don't use the sphere, even if you're not imagining a sphere, right? You can use this map to tell if any one point is given up is lit at any given time, right? So I guarantee, no matter where you guys are,
right? So that could just be occurring.
1 second, that's two different questions. What?
Sorry, go on. Second.
Well, I was just going to say, we can just say that's happening on a flat Earth, and for you to debate that, you would have to then say, no, look, it's a curved Earth. Here's curvature, for example.
No, again, you could say it's happening on a flat Earth, but how would how would the daylight cycle as we see it happen on a flat Earth?
I don't need to explain how day and night would occur on a flat Earth to know whether or not round is flat. No, you wouldn't, because it would be a question of geometry of the surface, wouldn't it, to know whether the surface is flat or not?
Yeah, on a flat Earth, how would the day and night cycle? Yeah, the geometry.
No, yeah, on a flat Earth, it would be a question of the geometry of the Earth, wouldn't it?
In some way, shape, or form, obviously. But again, more specifically,
that's the question.
Right, but the question is more specifically in what way would that occur?
Well, hold on. You would be begging the question in your basketball analogy because you'd be assuming a ball, but by the geometry that we observe and measure, you don't have that.
Sure. Again, you can argue that you can't measure a curve. I would argue that there are ways to demonstrate. One second. We're focused right now on the day and night cycle, right? So again, one second, can I finish? Because that my entire point to begin with which was what I was asked, was why I think the Earth is a sphere, right? I'm pointing to the day and night cycle. If I show a basketball with a light pointed on it, I can very accurately mimic the amount of light shown on the Earth, right? So again, from South America to Japan, South America to Japan, right? That parabola of light.
Yeah. I get it.
It's not begging the question because it's demonstrable about how much light covers what percentage of the Earth, right? If we can agree. Okay, regardless, maybe percentage is the wrong word. What?
That's the right word. I'm just glad you said it. If you're going to agree that a sphere with one light source will only have 50% illuminated.
I said roughly 50.
Well, let's just think about the geometry, right? If you're going to light a sphere with a single light source, 50% of it is going to be covered in light.
Roughly 50%, yeah.
Yep. You can carry on.
And that's what we see on Earth as well.
Oh, okay. No, you can't carry on. No, that's not what we see.
Why is that not what we see?
Because we can have up to 65% of the surface of the Earth illuminated by the sun where the sun is in the sky. Debunking your model. Just look at timeandday.com.
Let's see it. Again, yeah, I don't disagree. 1 second. Do you have it posted?
No, I can help.
Yeah, I posted mine. Again,
that's nice.
I say before we're talking about passing proofs around. Again, I posted my proof.
But like I said, your proof is begging the question. Yes, you can shine a torch on a sphere, but that's all you can do.
Right. This is like I said.
I can show you shadow puppets. Doesn't mean that they're real.
Can you show me a flat surface that is illuminated in the same way that we see Earth illuminated? Can you show me a demonstration, a small model of how that would occur?
Not one light source above a flat surface, and how that light source is only going to be viewable by a local location until you get too far away from it that it's going to descend on the horizon due to perspective.
Right. So
is the light source also?
Again, that's a good question as well. But also, I would struggle. I bet you would struggle to see that in an area in which obviously the Antarctica would be constantly illuminated. Right. So,
so if you can see the sun from one location for 24 hours, but somebody on the circle can only see the sun for a certain amount of time because the distance of the diameter is too big, then you understand how night cycles work. It's due to locality. Thanks.
It's also DJ posted a GIF earlier which showed a replication of the time and daylight and nighttime over the globe map.
Right, but
and we can match that with other things. However, with your basketball example and your torch, you cannot.
Too much coverage of light.
And for you to say
and too little. So like he's both ways. It's bad for him.
That's you said up to 65%. That thing is way more than 65%.
Did you hear what he said?
Right. Every time you give it percentage value, you're making a positive knowledge claim about size and dimension.
Yep.
So wait, like, is Australia upside down? I don't get it. What's going on, man?
There's like a bastardization.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Okay, so again,
hang on, DJ.
In the projections.
In
the gifs that DJ posted specifically, that's what we're referencing, right? That's again way more than 50%, or way more than 65%, and a much smaller percent of this map that we're looking at. Again, when you say we're making a positive claim to the size and shape of the Earth, right? All I'm saying is the areas in which that we can record, right, which are all the areas that are shown on a map, right? I don't believe that anyone thinks that all like a data projection or a globe or even any physical or data representation of how Earth is portrayed and what we know about it, right? We know on that map. Right, and on that set of data, when daytime is present in any given location, right? If we can agree to that, right?
Well, there seems to be a problem there because, like, you take a station in Antarctica and you look at when they claim that the 24-hour sun starts, you're getting discrepancies of days.
What?
What? No, that's the data that we're getting from these stations and these places. Some of it doesn't match up. Some of it's, especially the further you go south, you get discrepancies, massive discrepancies. Why is that?
Listen, the Earth is not flat, because if it was flat,
you should probably sit down, mate. Don't embarrass yourself, please. Thanks.
It seems like brownRekluse is arguing for a map and not a globe.
Again, I'm not arguing for a map. Again, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, the map claim is inherent within your claim. You might not realize it, but it is there.
My claim, as of right now, right, is that we can accurately tell at any what point on Earth as
off a map. Off your map.
My God, guys, do you want to have a conversation? Or do you want to keep interrupting me? It's upsetting.
Well, can I say something real quick? Because I was listening on the stream.
No, you jump in at some point.
Yeah, so half the Earth is not lit up. I don't know where you got that from.
Okay. Roughly 50%.
Where did you get that? No, it's not roughly. It's not even close to that.
I mean, again, plus 15%.
Where did you get it from?
Again, it's I don't have the source on me right now.
You saw like a little cartoon in 3rd grade.
Again, it's day and night cycles. One second. Time wise, right? We're divided into 12 hours, right? 12 hours of 2 sets of 12 hours, 24 days, right? Half of those days, hours are usually considered nighttime. Half of them are usually considered daytime, AM and PM, right? So again, time wise, we're divided into day and nighttime. And again, days change, daylight changes depending on, like you said, locality. Right?
Okay. But we're talking about 50% of Earth's surface. It's not 50%.
Okay, when I did say roughly. I did say roughly. 65, in my opinion, is close to 50, right? Again, it's clearly a different number, but it's within a margin of error, right? A large margin.
It's your argument for why Earth's low. Remember? Earth is low. Why are you interrupting me, dude? Stop it. You said Earth is low. Why are you interrupting me? So you said half the Earth is lit up, and that's why it's a globe. Now it's 67%. Now what?
Okay. I was saying that again.
This is why you should have listened to Wolfgang.
You just complained about being interrupted, and then you interrupted me. All right, so how about have some decorum, right? I told you I was high and I wasn't down for a debate. I just wanted to have a conversation, and you guys are jumping on me. I'm just saying daylight cycles in my mind. I'm smoking as we speak. Daylight cycles in my mind are more easily explained by a spherical object than a flat surface. I'll look at this model, but again, I have to compare it to the day and night cycles as we see them, right? And I have data of that. I don't know if this GIF is an accurate projection of how day and night cycles would work.
Yeah, you admitted it. It's in your mind. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only explanation you've ever heard, so you think it's the better explanation. You've just never heard any other one.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Right? Well, is that true or not?
No, it's not the only one I've ever heard. I just can't right now. I'm looking at it right now. I've seen this GIF before, right? But again, I'm comparing it to new data that I've acquired about how sunlight is recorded on Earth, right? So I can't just immediately review it because I'm open to
that data on the left, where you see what appears to be a flat Earth with some light on it in the darkness. Yeah, that is all globe Earth data.
Okay, you can say that all you want. Again, I have to compare it to what I have.
You can just look into it.
That's what I'm telling you I want to do. That's what I've been saying. That I have to compare it to the data I have before I can make a ruling on it. Because I'm not going to categorically deny anything that you're saying. I'm going to take into account and then, adjust my beliefs on what I think is the most true. Earlier, there was a conversation between a few people saying that, no one has to be open to changing your mind. And I think that someone was saying that was a dangerous mindset. And I would agree that it's a dangerous mindset to being closed off to changing your mind, even if you think you're completely right. There's always a chance that you're wrong.
No one's closing our mind off. It's just a particular standard that needs to be met. The evidence needs to be empirical for the claim.
He's a Pads fan. That's all we need to know.
There you go.
Sorry, Jedi.
You're right.
So there you go. I will review the data and continue and reapproach later.
I was just saying Pads is his hero, so that tells us what we need to know. That was who was saying that earlier. That's who he's quoting. Yeah.
Not Pads, man. Fucking hell. Anyone but Pads. Well, not anyone, but there's a lot of other people.
Find a different spokesperson there.
I simply agree with everything he said.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you, brownRekluse.
You call him brown nose then.
What would you guys say about the Foucault pendulum?
What's it supposed to prove?
Mario?
Huh?
It's got fuck all to do with it.
What's it supposed to prove? Tell us all about it.
So the Foucault pendulum is the Stanley pendulum. How they started is they usually start it at an angle and they connect it to a string, and then they burn the string usually. So they want to make sure that the only variable acting upon it is the Earth's rotation. And then you can see the pendulum slowly turning as the Earth rotates. It also depends on where it's at. Like if you're on the equator, it won't rotate at all.
Does this happen every time?
Does it rotate north of the equator? Sorry, Tim, I do apologise. No, answer Tim's question first.
But no,
yeah, sometimes
it does something different, but this is not caused. But this is usually due to external factors, like if they improperly start it, or it's.
Okay, how do you know when it's external factors and when it's not?
Well, usually when you improperly start it, doesn't work.
How would you know you improperly start it?
Because there's a way.
Because it doesn't work.
No, because there's a process you're meant to do to make and start the pendulum.
Exactly.
And if you do not follow the steps, you improperly started it, and usually it won't work because it'll allow for external. It won't. You're meant to not allow for any external factors.
External
scientific, dude.
Yeah, that sounds biased to me. Confirmation.
How's that biased? I literally told you they want to make it sure no external factors can inhibit the pendulum. They'll make sure the only thing affecting it is the rotation. If you improperly start it, they don't count. They just reset it because then there's external factors acting upon it.
Well, they'll say that there must have been external factors. They won't even bother identifying them. They'll just say there must.
I just told you what external factors. They improperly.
Improperly set it up. That's ambiguous.
Yes, if you improperly start something, it's much.
And how do they know that they've improperly set it up?
I just told you. What do you?
Because you won't get the result that you expect, right?
That's not
fallacy.
Okay.
Is it somewhere close to a Texas sharpshooter's fallacy? You get loads of results, but you just circle the ones that you want and say that the other results you got were, I didn't set up the not experiment, but the device correctly. It doesn't sound very good.
That's not. I never said that. You guys.
Hold on. You get loads of results.
When did I say that? When did I say that? When did I say that, Jedi? When did I say that?
Hold on. Fucking 5 times. Shut up. Right. So the claim that it's set up improperly, you're still going to get results, right? But you set it up improperly. So you're going to get loads of results. This is a gunman shooting at the side of a barn. And he's got a target, but he hasn't put the target up yet. He's just going to shoot the side of the barn, getting loads of results with his bullets. Then, because he hasn't got the results that he wants, he's going to circle these ones over here because they're quite good and completely disregard every other bullet or result that he's shot or got. So, yeah, if you get loads of results, but you're only going to circle these ones and classify that I didn't set up the experiment correctly because of external factors that you've still failed to mention, you just said that I haven't set up the device correctly. Am I making myself clear?
That's, oh my, I just said, okay, want me to explain? Let me get through my whole sentence first without you talking, because I can tell you like to talk a lot.
Not really.
Okay, so let me explain. So, it's not that they see it's working improperly, and they're like, oh, must be set up improperly. They see that when they do set it up improperly, that it doesn't work how it's meant to. If they don't set it up properly, because they're meant to set it up in a way. Hold on, let me speak.
Sounds like you're just swapping the words around into different order.
Sure. Okay. Can I at least finish? I already told you to let me finish my whole sentence, and you don't let me.
It doesn't make sense, though.
So, oh my god. All right.
Oh my
Okay, so what's
god.
it prove then?
Let him cook, chat. Let him cook.
I'll tell you what, just tell us what it proves.
It's meant to prove the Earth's rotation.
Okay, how many reference frames are there within this demonstration? Is there, for one example? Okay, for this example, the Earth in motion below an atmosphere that is stationary. So we would observe, like we do within the full quartz pendulum, a drift called and defined as the Coriolis effect.
Yes, you know what the Coriolis... You're proving the globe Earth. Thank you, actually. Thank you.
No, that's fine. If you're going to say that full quartz pendulum demonstrates two reference frames, the Coriolis effect, which means that everything that's not attached to the surface of the Earth will appear to drift at 15 degrees an hour. That's a shame, because nothing else that leaves the surface of the Earth does that. Aircrafts don't deviate at 15 degrees an hour. Airports in the west don't come screaming towards aircrafts that have left in the east. The distance doesn't expand if you go east. What the fuck? A full quartz pendulum might show Coriolis, a deviation in the pendulum when you swing it, but we don't observe that in the physical natural world.
Well, just so you know, aircraft do get subtly affected by the Coriolis effect. You also have to think of inertia. Inertia, do you know what inertia is? Define inertia to me.
Suddenly?
Define inertia.
Fuck you, suddenly.
Define inertia.
No, you've made a claim. Start getting me to define fucking terms, Sunshine.
You know what inertia is? Yeah, I guess not.
My goodness me. Tell me when Coriolis effect is taking place in an aircraft.
The object's resistance to change in motion.
Are you going to be a prick? Or do I have to mute you?
Tell me you don't know what you're talking about.
Continually be a prick.
Talking about.
Really?
Oh my god.
Show me the Coriolis adjustment within the aircraft data.
What do you say?
Show me the Coriolis adjustment within the aircraft data.
Let me get
you said that before you asked me to define terms. Show it. We do, he said. Okay, show it then. Show the correction.
All right.
Are we still live?
I think he's working on his demo. He's working on his explanation there.
Cool. We're going to be talking about hovering in a minute. Oh, that's going to be groundbreaking.
I see what you did there.
Is there anyone else? Because he's going to be looking for a very long time.
I'm just looking for a good one.
Looking for a good cherry to pick.
Right? Putting words in my mouth at this point. That's how you know there.
Shouldn't you have this information on hand if it's part of your argument?
I mean, I had read it somewhere. I had read it. They didn't exactly just give me the data.
What did you read?
That aircrafts are slightly or subtly affected by the Coriolis effect.
You read that somewhere?
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad because we have the actual pitch data right here. No effect.
So do you think if there was this subtle effect on the aircrafts that they would have to account for it, right?
I found okay model of Earth's core.
I hope you intend on showing us with the pitch data what the effect is.
Earth latitude, speed, acceleration.
Doesn't know.
Hold on.
Thinking of aircraft, we're going to be treating the Earth as a flat and stationary environment. I think that's what we're going to find.
How is it that these Globers present something they say they know about, then
Wait,
they have
did you
to
say
look
pitch
and read
data?
about it for 20 minutes? Then you have to look it up on Google.
What are you talking about pitch data? Pitch data doesn't even explain the Coriolis
Why'd you interrupt me? Yeah, so you have to look it up after the fact, after you already know, then you have to look it up. Interesting.
Well, you show me the data. I read it. I can show you the article, but
no, you can't.
I can't.
Not interested. Got to remember this, right? Not necessarily interested in the claim.
Let me ask the question.
Why?
Be quiet. Cool. Okay, you said pitch data doesn't show Coriolis effect. That is correct. Why would it show Coriolis effect? Pitch data is vertical.
You said there was an effect on the aircraft.
Pitch data. There's an effect on the aircraft, not the pitch. Do you know what pitch of an aircraft is?
Yeah.
What is the
it's
pitch
in
of an aircraft?
reference to horizontal. Yeah, it's in reference to horizontal and vertical. For example, the gyroscope will let them know where the aircraft is and how it's orientated in three-dimensional space. For example, if it's pitched up or pitched down. Now, if it was flying over a curved surface, it would have to pitch down. Unfortunately,
it wouldn't have to.
It would, because it's going to negotiate a surface. If it's flying horizontally, that would be a tangent on a sphere, so the increase in altitude, you'd fly off into fucking space if you didn't correct for the curvature, because you want to fly above that surface at a set altitude. So you'd have to pitch down if the surface is curving downwards. Yeah, you'd have to do that.
Nope, you don't, but okay.
No, you don't. You don't have to fly around spheres. What the fuck? Do you know what rotation is?
You don't have to manually pitch down. Do you know what gravity is? The gravitational pull exerted by the Earth to the Earth's large mass. The Earth has such a large mass that it exerts a gravitational pull on
you know what rotation is?
Yes.
Good. So you understand, for example, we've got a hypothetical situation where there's an aircraft above the North Pole and it flies to the equator. You understand that it's rotated 90 degrees. You understand? Yeah, you understand what rotation is. If you've got a basketball and you put your hand above it and then put your hand underneath it, in the first instance it was palm down, in the second instance it's palm up. It's rotated 180 degrees there. So yeah, the aircraft is going to have to rotate. That's a change of pitch.
It doesn't have to manually rotate though.
It does. It has to change pitch.
Oh my god.
Well, it has to change pitch.
I feel like a second grader can answer this question.
What, really? You think gravity takes care of it?
What do you think gravity is?
Sorry, no, that's just a vector downwards. You haven't proved your sphere because your aircraft at the moment isn't negotiating any type of curvature. Your holy force of fucking gravity is making it happen. The fuck?
Blood. Bro.
What do you mean, bro? Just
how dumb can you be, bro? How dumb can you be?
Airplane can fly around ball.
Planes
would have to change pitch, wouldn't they? You know what pitch is, don't you?
They're designed at a constant altitude.
You get to fly horizontally.
How dumb can this be?
Mario, look, Toby Dog just posted a link to the flight dynamics summary. You can click it and scroll down, and it says, there is a flat Earth. The Earth's curvature is 0. There is a non-rotating Earth. No Coriolis accelerations and such are present.
What page does it show that? There's like...
It's just one page.
There's 51 pages. You really want to
I'm just saying at the beginning of the first page. It's right under there. These are the assumptions you need to have to be able to fly the aircraft.
Makes sense. In this summary, we want to describe the flight dynamics with equations. This is, however, very difficult to simplify, but we have to make some simplifying assumptions. We assume that the Earth is flat. We assume. We have to simplify it a bit. We have to make some assumptions, so we assume that.
So they don't account for the Earth being curved. They don't account for any Coriolis. They have to assume that.
Yeah, because it makes little to no difference. It's not like you're orbiting the Earth. You're flying at like, what, how many feet above the... Oh my god.
What? You don't think the increase in speed, for example, of an aircraft means you're going to have to change pitch quicker?
No.
No?
Automatically designed to maintain a constant altitude.
You're an idiot.
Oh my god.
Well, look, seriously, you do not think that you have to negotiate curvature?
You know what second grade is?
That's a change from horizontal.
You know what first grade is? Kindergarten.
Do you know what horizontal is? Do you know what horizontal is? Let's start in fucking second grade. Do you know what a line is?
Yes.
Good. Do you know what a straight line is?
Yes.
Do you know what a curved line is?
Yes.
Do you know what an angle is?
Yes.
What's an angle?
An angle is the meet of two intersecting lines.
Those lines, are they curved lines or are they straight lines?
Usually on angle, they're straight lines.
Yes, you need straight lines to form angles, don't you?
Yes, what about it?
No, that's fine. We're going to put a fucking nice big pin in that one, and then we're going to come down to this. You understand that a horizontal meeting a curve at one point is a tangent? Yes?
Sure, yeah.
Good. You understand that if an aircraft is maintaining horizontal because of the gyroscope, it is going to fly horizontally, which will be deviating from the curved surface with distance. You would have to change the pitch of the aircraft because of the curvature you're trying to negotiate. Because if you don't, you'll gain altitude and fly into space.
That's not how that works, but okay.
So, well, then why don't we change pitch? Do you think that flying straight is going to mean that we're going to curve all of a sudden?
If you fly, the planes are automatically made to fly at a constant altitude.
Oh,
you know what altitude is? What is altitude? Define altitude.
Altitude is above mean sea level. To talk about altitude, it's going to be welcome to flat Earth.
All right.
All right. You want to talk about up 50 meters or 32,000 feet, or down below sea level in the water 50 meters? It's welcome to flat Earth.